At an exclusive private school, a young girl is publicly humiliated for her father's blue-collar job. But the principal's assembly isn't to punish her. It's to play a video that reveals he was once the most decorated emergency rescue pilot in the state, and every parent who looked down on him is about to see the hero they never recognized. This is Chloe, 7 years old, and her father, Leo. To the wealthy families at Willow Creek Academy, he's just a maintenance man. But that perception, and the cruelty it sparked, is based on a lie so profound it will dismantle the entire social hierarchy of the school. Their story exposes a brutal truth. In communities built on wealth, bullying isn't just child's play. It's a reflection of adult prejudice. And the question everyone will soon be forced to answer is, what defines a hero and what truly makes a person poor? 5:30 a.m. The alarm buzzes in a small, rented duplex on the wrong side of the county line. This is where Leo Lawson begins every day, long before the sun touches the manicured lawns of Willow Creek. He makes breakfast, oatmeal, sliced apple, and checks Chloe's backpack. Her uniform, second-hand but meticulously clean, is already laid out. He drives a 12-year-old sedan, the one with the mismatched hubcap, 40 minutes to the school where he works not as a parent but as the head of facilities, the maintenance man. Willow Creek Academy isn't just a school, it's a statement. Annual tuition equals 3 times Leo's salary. The buildings are glass and brushed steel, the playing field synthetic turf. Here, children of surgeons, tech founders, and venture capitalists learn Mandarin and robotics. And here, the social currency isn't grades, it's pedigree. What your parents do, where you vacation, what you wear. For Chloe Lawson, a bright-eyed girl with a scholarship for academic promise, the calculation was simple. Father in a blue work shirt, old car, packed lunch. The math never added up in her favor. The bullying started small. A snicker when she pulled her lunch from a reusable container instead of ordering from the hot catered menu. A pointed comment about her vintage sneakers. Then it escalated. In art class, a group of girls led by Isabella, daughter of a real estate magnate, accidentally spilled washable paint on Chloe's only school sweater. They called it a fashion improvement. On the playground, they invented a game called Dodge the Janitor's Kid, where running from Chloe meant you wouldn't catch her poorness. The research is chillingly clear. In affluent environments, socioeconomic status is the single greatest predictor of victimization. 2 out of every 5 children from low-income families will be targeted, compared to just 1 in 4 from wealthy homes. Chloe became a statistic. Leo saw the signs. The quiet car rides home. The once vibrant drawings now filled with somber colors. The night she asked, "Daddy, why can't you be a CEO?" He tried the recommended channels. He emailed her teacher, Ms. Green, who responded with platitudes about social dynamics and encouraging resilience. He requested a meeting with the guidance counselor, who suggested Chloe might benefit from a social skills group. The system, designed to protect the institution's serene image, was adept at muffling conflict, not resolving it. Leo's solution was to be more present. He took on extra shifts, working late fixing leaky faucets and running network cables, just to be a visible protective presence in the halls. The other parents saw a servant trying too hard. They didn't see the soldier. Because Leo Lawson used to be someone else. Captain Leo Lawson, of the state's elite air rescue wing. For 8 years, he flew HH-60 Pave Hawk helicopters into the teeth of hurricanes, onto the sides of burning mountains, and over flooded canyons to pluck people from the jaws of death. His logbook held over 300 combat search and rescue hours. His chest held medals, including the Distinguished Flying Cross for a night rescue of a stranded hiking team during a blizzard, a mission so perilous the official report was mostly redacted. He was a hero until the physics of wind and metal betrayed him. The crash happened 4 years ago. A training exercise, a sudden microburst, a hard landing that shattered his hip and his career. The medical discharge was honorable, but it came with a modest pension and a silent, screaming guilt. He'd left the service, and shortly after, Chloe's mother left them, unable to cope with the quiet man haunted by the screams he hadn't been able to hear. Leo chose Willow Creek for its scholarship program, a fresh start where his past wouldn't cast a shadow. He traded his flight suit for coveralls, believing obscurity was the best armor for his daughter. It was a miscalculation of catastrophic proportions. The breaking point arrived on a Tuesday. It was Heritage Day, where students were encouraged to bring an item representing their family's legacy. Isabella brought a framed photo of her father cutting the ribbon on a new downtown skyscraper. Another boy brought his great-grandfather's pocket watch from the Titanic. Chloe, with Leo's hesitant approval, brought his old flight helmet. Not the medals, not the official photo, just the helmet, scuffed and weathered with faded squadron patches. She carried it with immense pride. During show and tell, Isabella scoffed loudly. "My dad says you can buy those at Army surplus stores, probably where your dad got his uniform too." The class erupted in giggles. Chloe, her small voice trembling, insisted, "My daddy saved people. He was a pilot." The teacher, flustered, quickly moved on, but the damage was seismic. At recess, the confrontation turned cruel. A circle of children formed around Chloe. Isabella, the ringleader, chanted, "Liar, liar, pants on fire." Someone snatched the helmet. It was tossed from child to child in a brutal game of keep away, until it finally slipped from a boy's grip and crashed onto the asphalt, the visor cracking. Chloe sat on the ground, weeping over the broken pieces, as a crowd of 7-year-olds orchestrated her humiliation. This wasn't just child's play. This was the enacted prejudice of their parents, a vicious lesson in class enforcement. A teacher's aide finally broke it up, but the response was a masterclass in minimization. Both girls, bully and victim, were given identical conflict resolution worksheets to complete. Leo found the broken helmet in Chloe's backpack that night. He saw the crack over the left eye, the exact place where his own head had been protected from shrapnel. He saw the silent tears streaking his daughter's face as she tried to superglue it back together. For this man, who had faced down storm winds and failing engines, this was the unbearable mission. The enemy was a culture, an invisible fortress of privilege he couldn't storm. He made one final, formal complaint to the principal's office. And this time, someone was listening. Principal Amanda Vance was new to Willow Creek, a transplant from the public system with a reputation for zero tolerance on bullying. She had seen the prior reports on the Lawson situation buried in the counselor's files. She had also, discreetly, run a basic background check after Leo's persistent complaints. What she found made her print out a single page and stare at it for 10 solid minutes. The next morning, she made 2 unprecedented calls. The first was to every parent in the 2nd grade class, mandating their presence at a special assembly the following day. The second was to a colonel at the State Air National Guard, requesting archival footage. She told no one, not even Leo, her full plan. The stage is now set. The gymnasium is packed. Wealthy parents in designer casual wear murmur, annoyed at this intrusion on their schedules. They assume this is another lecture on inclusivity, a box-ticking exercise. Chloe sits in the front row, small and terrified, believing she is about to be publicly shamed for causing trouble. Leo stands in the back near the doors, his work clothes a stain against the sea of wealth, his body rigid with a father's helpless rage. Principal Vance walks to the podium, her expression unreadable. She doesn't talk about kindness or rules. She says, "You are here today because we have failed. We have confused wealth with worth and status with character. Before we discuss consequences, you need to understand exactly who it is you have been judging." She nods to the AV technician. The lights dim. The massive screen flickers to life. And the first image that fills the room is not a graph or a quote, but the roaring rotor wash of a rescue helicopter, seen from a helmet cam, as it descends into a literal inferno. The footage is raw, shaky, declassified. A mountain ridge at night, trees bent sideways by hurricane-force winds. The voice over the comms is calm, professional, and unmistakably Leo's. Talon 1-1 on final, I see them. 3 survivors, West Ledge. On screen, from the pilot's point of view, the helicopter's spotlight pins three huddled figures on a crumbling outcrop. The wind shear warning blares in the cockpit. The co-pilot's voice tense. "We're at the limit, Leo." Leo's reply flat. "Not yet, we're not." The collective gasp in the gymnasium is physical. A dozen parents recognize that voice. They turn slowly to look at the man in the blue work shirt at the back of the room. He is staring at the floor, jaw clenched, living the memory he'd tried to bury. The video jumps. Now it's a flood, a raging river swallowing a town. Civilians are trapped on rooftops. Again, Leo's helicopter is the only one low enough, daring enough to drop a rescue swimmer into the churning water. The news chyron at the bottom of the screen reads, "State Air Guard saves 20 in historic floods." A father in the third row, a venture capitalist named Robert, sees his own lake house in the background of the shot. He was evacuated by boat that day. He never knew who the pilots and the skis were. Principal Vance lets the footage play for a full 2 minutes without commentary. The message is visual, visceral, undeniable. This isn't a highlight reel. It's a document of sustained, life-risking duty. The final clip is the shortest and the most devastating. It's a body cam from a firefighter on the ground. A residential building is engulfed. A mother is screaming from a third-floor window, a baby in her arms. The heat is too intense for ladder trucks. The audio is chaos until a distinct rotor thump cuts through. Leo's voice again. "We're going in, prep for a hoist." The helicopter maneuvers sideways, a dance with the smoke plumes. The rescue swimmer is lowered, grabs the baby, then the mother. As they're winched up, an explosion rocks the building's facade. The helicopter lurches violently but holds steady. The on-screen data tag lists the pilot, Captain Leo Lawson. Award citation, Distinguished Flying Cross. The screen goes black. The silence in the gym is absolute, thick with the weight of collective shame. You could hear a designer watch tick. Principal Vance returns to the microphone. Her voice is quiet, but it carries. "The man you see in that footage is the same man whose daughter sits in this room. The man you have dismissed, whose child you have allowed your children to torment, based on the job he took to be close to her after his service ended." She pauses, letting it sink in. The research is unequivocal. Bullying rooted in socioeconomic bias is not child's play. It is the early indoctrination of class prejudice. It tells a child their worth is measured by their parents' tax bracket. And today, you have seen the catastrophic error of that calculus. Then she does something extraordinary. She turns to Chloe. "Chloe, would you please come up here?" The little girl, eyes wide with confusion and residual fear, looks at her teacher, who gives a gentle nod. She walks to the principal, who kneels to her level. "The helmet you brought to school," Principal Vance says, her voice amplified for all to hear. "Can you tell us what your daddy said about it?" Chloe, into the microphone, her small voice shaking but clear. "He said it kept him safe. So he could come home." The principal holds her gaze. "And why did he have to be so safe, Chloe?" The girl takes a deep breath, reciting words she's clearly heard but perhaps not fully understood. "Because he was going into scary places to get people out. And sometimes the scary places tried to keep him." A sob breaks the silence. It comes from Isabella's mother, Elena, her perfectly composed facade shattered. Her daughter, the ringleader, is staring at her own lap, face crimson. Other parents refuse to make eye contact. The social hierarchy of the room has been inverted in 6 minutes. The custodial father is the hero. The powerful parents are the judgmental mob. But the revelation isn't over. Principal Vance stands. Captain Lawson's service record, which he never disclosed, includes over 300 combat rescue hours. The pension he receives for his service, which ended due to a career-ending injury, is $28,000 a year. The scholarship Chloe earned covers tuition, but not the auxiliary fees, the uniforms, the required tablet. The difference is made up by Leo Lawson working the job you see him in. This isn't a story about a poor family. This is a story about a wealthy community that failed to recognize wealth of character. Leo can't take it anymore. He moves from the back, walking down the center aisle. All eyes are on him. He doesn't go to the podium. He goes to Chloe, picks her up, and holds her close. He looks at Principal Vance and gives a single, almost imperceptible shake of his head. Enough. The message is clear. This was for Chloe, not for vengeance. But the wheels of consequence are already turning. The assembly ends in a chaotic, muted shuffle. Parents corral their children, desperate to exit the arena of their humiliation. But the story doesn't stay within the gym walls. In the age of smartphones, it was never going to. A parent, in a misguided attempt to capture the inspiring moment, had recorded the entire video playback on their phone. By that evening, the clip, edited, hashtagged, and stripped of context, is trending locally. The headline reads, "Deadbeat Dad or War Hero." School shames parents with shock video. The narrative is instantly corrupted. The nuance is lost. Leo is painted as a vindictive father who used his military past to embarrass others. The school is accused of a Stalinist publicity stunt. The true victims, Chloe and the issue of class bullying, are buried in the hot take avalanche. Leo's phone begins to blow up. First, it's unknown numbers, reporters. Then it's the school district superintendent furious about the unauthorized disclosure of a sensational nature. Then it's the colonel from the Air Guard, his former commander, calling with a mixture of pride and concern. "Leo, you're all over the news. Your story been twisted. Do you want us to put out a statement?" Leo, shell-shocked, tells him no. He just wants it to stop. But the modern world doesn't work that way. By 10 p.m., the story has been picked up by a national news aggregator. The comments section is a war zone. One faction hails him as a patriot persecuted by the elite. The other faction decries him as a toxic masculinity symbol, using his service to excuse parental failure. The school rating site is flooded with one-star reviews from outraged strangers. Inside the expensive homes of Willow Creek, a different drama unfolds. Family dinners are silent wars. Parents are forced to explain to their children why the man they mocked is a hero. For some, it's a moment of genuine reckoning. For others, it's an exercise in defensive justification. Robert, the venture capitalist, fumes to his wife. This was a deliberate class warfare ambush. That principal should be fired. His wife, who hasn't been able to meet his eyes since the assembly, whispers, "Our daughter called his child trash, Robert. We taught her that. Not directly, but we did." The cracks are appearing. Meanwhile, in the Lawson duplex, Leo is trying to shield Chloe from the digital storm. He turns off the Wi-Fi. He tells her the video was just to help people understand, but that now some people are confused and angry. Chloe, with the eerie clarity of a child, asks, "Are they angry because they were mean and now they feel bad?" Leo has no answer. His own emotions are a torrent of conflicting currents. There's a fierce, primal satisfaction in seeing the bullies squirm. There's a crushing anxiety about the sudden exposure. And there's a deep, weary sadness that it took a parade of his past trauma to earn his daughter a basic fraction of respect. At 9:45 p.m., his doorbell rings. It's Principal Vance, still in her professional attire, looking exhausted. "May I come in?" she asks. He lets her. She doesn't offer apologies. She gets straight to the point. "The district is launching an investigation into my conduct. I'll likely be placed on administrative leave tomorrow. I don't regret what I did, but I underestimated the backlash." Leo is stunned. "You're getting fired for showing the truth." "For causing a public relations crisis," she corrects bitterly. "The school's endowment relies on those parents. I made them feel attacked. In the world of private education, that is the cardinal sin." She hands him a folded piece of paper. It's a printout of an email chain. The top message is from the president of the school's board of trustees, a pharmaceutical CEO. It's addressed to the superintendent. The key line is highlighted. "While Captain Lawson's service is commendable, Principal Vance's theatrical exploitation of it has created a hostile environment for our donor families and severely damaged our community's trust. We recommend her immediate suspension and a formal review of the Lawson child's continued enrollment, as her presence has become a disruptive focal point." Leo feels the room tilt. His fight-or-flight instinct, dormant for years, roars back to life. They weren't just coming for the principal. They were coming for Chloe. His obscurity had been her shield. Now it was gone, and the institution was poised to punish the victim to appease the powerful. Principal Vance looks him dead in the eye. They're going to try to make us both go away quietly. They'll offer you a graceful exit, a full scholarship to another school, maybe even a cash settlement for distress with a strict non-disclosure agreement. They'll make me a scapegoat. This is how these systems protect themselves. Leo's voice is a low growl. What's the alternative? The alternative, she says, is to stop being the subject of the story and to start telling it yourself. But I have to warn you, if you do that, you are declaring war on the most influential group of people in this county, and they do not lose. As her car pulls away, Leo stands on his dark doorstep, the hum of the highway a distant echo. The quiet father who just wanted peace is gone. In his place is the rescue pilot, assessing a hostile landscape with his daughter's future hanging in the balance. The mission parameters have just changed. It's no longer about earning respect. It's about survival. And the first engagement begins at dawn with a press conference called by the very board of trustees that just threatened his child. At 9 a.m. sharp in the school's marble-floored atrium, the board of trustees faces a bank of news cameras. They don't look defensive. They look offended. Board President Martin Thorne, the pharmaceutical CEO, adjusts his tie and begins without a smile. Willow Creek Academy has always been a family. Yesterday, that family was betrayed by a shocking breach of privacy and a profound misuse of authority. He frames the entire event as Principal Vance's unilateral, emotionally manipulative stunt. He expresses deep respect for Leo's service, but laments how it was weaponized to create division. He announces Vance's immediate administrative leave and a full, independent review of the incident. He does not mention Chloe. He does not apologize. He concludes by saying the school's focus must return to educational excellence, not public spectacles. It's a masterclass in institutional gaslighting. They are not the perpetrators. They are the victims of a rogue employee. Leo watches the livestream on his phone in his truck, parked outside a hardware store. His hands are steady, but a cold, tactical fury settles in his gut. He recognizes the maneuver: isolate the threat, control the narrative, sacrifice a pawn. Principal Vance was the pawn. He was the threat. And they were banking on him being too humble, too private, too nice to fight back. They'd misread their opponent. A rescue pilot isn't trained for frontal assault against a fortified position. He's trained for precision insertion, gathering intelligence and extracting the vulnerable. His daughter was the vulnerable asset, and his extraction plan just went live. He doesn't call a lawyer. He doesn't call the news. He drives to the local Veterans of Foreign Wars post, a modest building with a faded flag. Inside, he finds an old friend, Mike, a retired Marine sergeant and now a veterans advocate. Leo lays out the situation in blunt operational terms: hostile entity, compromised objective, civilian at risk. Mike listens, then slides a laptop across the table. You know the rule, brother. Leave no one behind, even on the home front. What happens next isn't a viral smear campaign. It's a coordinated, fact-based offensive. By noon, a different narrative begins to emerge in the digital fog of war. A respected state veterans charity posts Leo's official service record, with his permission, highlighting his awards and the circumstances of his medical retirement. A local news reporter, skeptical of the board's polished statement, digs deeper and publishes the district's own anti-bullying policy, which Principal Vance's assembly technically fulfilled to the letter. The comment sections, once a toxic free-for-all, start to see a new wave of comments from veterans, teachers, and parents from other schools sharing stories of economic bullying. The story is morphing from a he said, they said drama into a national conversation about classism in education. Then the first domino falls within the Willow Creek community itself. Elena, Isabella's mother, the one who broke down in the assembly, does the unthinkable. She posts a long, unedited video to her own social media, a platform usually reserved for vacation photos and charity galas. She is makeup-free, her voice raw. I am Isabella's mother. What my daughter did, what I allowed her to believe was acceptable, is my failure. We judged a man by his shirt and a child by her lunchbox. We were wrong. Captain Lawson is a hero. His daughter is a sweet, brilliant girl. And until we, as parents, confront our own biases, our children will keep enacting them. It's a seismic act of public contrition. It splits the parent body wide open. Some praise her courage. Others, in private texts and emails, call her a traitor to their kind. This internal fracture creates an opening. An anonymous email arrives in the inbox of the investigating reporter. It contains scanned PDFs of past incident reports from Willow Creek, all related to bullying, all quietly resolved with non-disclosure agreements and transferred students. The pattern is clear. Protect the school's reputation, relocate the victim. The wait it gets worse moment isn't about Leo. It's about the system. Willow Creek isn't an outlier, it's a symptom. The board's response is swift and brutal. They file a cease and desist order against the reporter, claiming the documents are stolen and their publication violates student privacy. They also send a formal, legalistic letter to Leo, offering the graceful exit Principal Vance predicted. A full scholarship for Chloe at an equally prestigious school 50 miles away, plus a one-time payment of $75,000, contingent on a comprehensive NDA and a public statement that the matter was a misunderstanding. The subtext is a threat. Take the money and the silence, or we will bury you in legal fees and controversy until you have nothing left. Leo reads the letter at his kitchen table, Chloe asleep upstairs. The number is life-changing. It could mean a down payment on a house, security, peace. It is also blood money, a payment to look away from a broken system and let it keep breaking other children. He thinks of the anonymous reports of other kids who didn't have a father with declassified hero footage. He folds the letter. He doesn't show it to his lawyer. He puts it in a drawer. The next morning, he does something simple. He drives Chloe to school, not to drop her off, but to walk her in. He is not in his work clothes. He wears a simple button-down shirt and his old flight jacket, the one with the faded squadron patch on the shoulder. The press, camped at the gates, erupts. He doesn't stop to talk. He holds Chloe's hand and walks straight through the scrum into the school and directly to the main office. He tells the stunned secretary, "My daughter has class. And I have a meeting with the acting principal." It's a public reclamation of space. He is not hiding. He is not leaving. He is reporting for duty. The acting principal, a nervous vice principal thrust into the role, tries to reiterate the board's position. Leo cuts him off. "I'm not here to debate. I'm here to inform you of two things. First, my daughter remains a student here. Under the protection of the anti-bullying policy you are legally obligated to enforce. Second, I am invoking my right as a parent to address the Parent-Teacher Association at their next meeting, which is tomorrow night." He leaves no room for argument. The PTA meeting, usually a sparsely attended affair about bake sales and field trips, suddenly becomes the hottest ticket in town. The night of the meeting, the school auditorium is packed. Media is barred, but every seat is filled by a parent, their expressions a mix of curiosity, hostility, and shame. The board members sit in the front row, a united wall of suits. Leo walks onto the stage alone. He doesn't have a PowerPoint. He doesn't have a video. He has a single piece of paper. He looks out at the sea of faces, the people who held his daughter's social fate in their hands. "I'm not a wealthy man," he begins, his voice calm, carrying. "But until 2 weeks ago, I believed I was rich in other ways. I had my daughter's health. I had my integrity. I had the quiet respect of my neighbors. You have shown me that in this ecosystem, those currencies are worthless." He lets that hang. "I didn't come here for your apology. I came here to ask you a question. When you drop your children off at these gates, what is the first lesson you want them to learn? Is it calculus? Or is it compassion? Is it networking? Or is it that every human being possesses an inherent dignity that no tax bracket can erase?" He holds up the piece of paper. "This is the cease and desist letter your board sent me, offering money for my silence. I am declining their offer, because my silence was what allowed your children to believe that mocking my daughter was acceptable. I will not be silent anymore." He turns directly to the board. "You are threatening to fire a principal who actually enforced your own rules. You are offering hush money to a veteran instead of addressing the moral failure in your own community. You are not protecting a school. You are protecting a brand, and brands can be shattered. Then he shifts his gaze to the other parents. But you are not the board. You are the community. You have a choice. You can let them manage this scandal back into silence, or you can demand something better. You can teach your children, by your own actions right now, that it is never too late to do the hard, right thing. He steps away from the microphone. The silence is total, then broken by a single pair of hands clapping. It's Alina. Then another parent joins, then another. Within 10 seconds, half the room is on its feet, not in uniform applause, but in a ragged, emotional standing ovation. The board members remain seated, stone-faced, islands in a rising sea of dissent. The fortress walls have been breached not by a bomb, but by a simple, unanswerable question of conscience. As Leo walks out, parents approach him, not with words, but with nods, with handshakes, with tears in their eyes. The social currency of the room has permanently flipped. But in the parking lot, Martin Thorne, the board president, is waiting by Leo's car. He dispenses with pleasantries. That was a very stirring speech, Captain, but speeches don't pay the bills. That scholarship offer is withdrawn. As of now, your daughter's place here is under review for ongoing disruption. We will see you in court. He hands Leo a formal notice of enrollment review. The legal war is now official. The board has chosen the scorched earth path. Leo drives home, the notice on the passenger seat. The brief euphoria of the meeting evaporates. He is outgunned and outfunded. He has principal. They have lawyers. That's when his phone rings. It's a number he doesn't recognize. He answers. A woman's voice, crisp and professional, says, "Captain Lawson, my name is Alicia Mendez. I'm a senior producer with Impact, the national investigative news program. We've been following your story. We think it's about much more than one school. We'd like to fly a team out tomorrow. We want to tell the whole story." Leo pulls over. He looks at the legal notice, then at the photo of Chloe on his dashboard. He understands that saying yes will launch the conflict into a stratosphere from which there is no return. It will nationalize his daughter's pain, but it may also be the only way to win a war he never wanted to fight. He takes a deep breath. "What do you need from me?" The Impact team arrives not with the fanfare of a news circus, but with the quiet efficiency of a forensic unit. For 3 days, they interview Leo, Chloe, Principal Vance, teachers, and, crucially, they convince several Willow Creek parents to speak on camera, including Alina. They don't just focus on the assembly. They map the ecosystem, the tuition costs, the donor lists, the history of swept-under-the-rug incidents. They interview sociologists who contextualize the research, how in affluent schools, economic inequality itself is the single greatest predictor of bullying. The story is no longer dad versus school. It is a system's soul on trial. The night the segment airs is a national event. It opens not with Leo, but with Chloe's cracked helmet on the kitchen table. The narration is stark. This is about what we value and what we choose not to see. The 22-minute piece is devastating in its clarity. It shows the rescue footage. It shows the bullying incident reports. It shows Martin Thorne's cease and desist letter in extreme close-up. And it ends with Chloe, asked what she wants now, saying, "I just want to go to school. And for my dad to not be sad anymore." The emotional impact is atomic. The fallout is immediate and overwhelming. The school's social media is inundated. Major veterans organizations issue statements of support. The state's governor, a moderate, tweets, "Captain Lawson served us. The least we can do is ensure his daughter learns in an environment of respect, not cruelty." Donors to Willow Creek's endowment begin pulling their pledges, citing ethical misalignment. The board's fortress, built on reputation and money, finds both crumbling simultaneously. Under this intense pressure, the internal cracks become canyons. 3 board members resign publicly within 48 hours. The law firm representing the school quietly withdraws, a clear signal they see a losing case. The remaining board calls an emergency meeting. Martin Thorne argues for holding the line. He is outvoted. The next morning, the board issues a new statement. It contains an unconditional apology to the Lawson family. It reinstates Principal Vance with full authority. It announces the immediate formation of a parent-staff task force to overhaul the school's anti-bullying and inclusion policies, with input from national experts. And it confirms that Chloe Lawson's scholarship and place at the school are permanent and secure. The war, for all intents and purposes, is over. They have surrendered. But the story has a life beyond the conflict. A national educational foundation, inspired by the case, establishes a grant in Leo's name to fund anti-socioeconomic bullying programs in private schools. Leo is asked to be an advisor. He accepts, on one condition, that the training focuses not on punishing bullies, but on cultivating empathy in the entire community, parents included. At Willow Creek, change is tangible but fragile. Principal Vance returns to a school both chastened and hopeful. She implements the new policies with vigor. The first assembly she holds is not about rules, but about stories. Students share experiences of exclusion and kindness. Isabella, guided by her mother, stands up and offers a quiet, public apology to Chloe. It is not forced. It is awkward, heartfelt, and a necessary first step. Chloe, with a maturity that belies her years, simply says, "Okay." For Leo and Chloe, life finds a new equilibrium. The paparazzi fade away. The hate mail stops. Leo continues his job at the school, but now the dynamic has irrevocably shifted. Parents nod to him with genuine respect. Children, having seen the video, sometimes ask him wide-eyed questions about helicopters. He answers patiently, deflecting glory to his old crew. He and Chloe still live in the same duplex. He still packs her lunch. But the silence in the car is gone, replaced by easy chatter. The shadow has lifted. The surprising final detail emerges a month later. Leo receives a formal letter from the Department of Veterans Affairs. Due to the public revelation of his service-connected injuries' severity and the subsequent media attention, his disability rating is under review for a potential increase. It's a bureaucratic glimmer of justice, a small financial adjustment that would ease their practical burdens. But more importantly, enclosed with the letter is a handwritten note from the reviewing officer, a former combat medic himself. It reads, "Saw your story. You never left the fight. You just changed your mission. Honor to serve with you, even from a distance." For Leo, that note means more than any public apology or policy change. He frames it. He hangs it next to Chloe's drawings on the kitchen wall, a quiet testament to a different kind of victory. The hero who never wanted to be one has not just defended his daughter. He has, inadvertently, become a beacon for a conversation about class, compassion, and the true meaning of service. His mission, once about extracting people from physical danger, has evolved into something subtler and more enduring, exposing a different kind of danger, the kind that thrives in silence and judgment. One afternoon, he picks Chloe up from school. She runs to his car, not with the weary slump of before, but with a bounce. She's holding hands with another girl, a new friend. As they drive away, the sun setting behind the now familiar gates of Willow Creek, Chloe says, "Dad, Isabella asked me to her birthday party. Is that okay?" Leo feels a complex wash of emotion, caution, hope, forgiveness. He looks at her in the rearview mirror. "Do you want to go?" She thinks for a moment. "Yeah. I think so," he nods. "Then it's okay." It is not a perfect, happy ending. Scars remain on helmets and on hearts, but it is an ending defined by choice, not coercion, by healing, not hiding. The maintenance man, the rescue pilot, the father, has finally landed his most difficult mission, bringing his daughter safely home, not just to a house, but to a world where she can walk without shame. And as he turns onto their street, the ordinary, unremarkable street they call home, the last line of the promise he made to himself years ago finally settles into truth. No one gets left behind. The story of Leo and Chloe Lawson is not an anomaly. It is a diagnostic. It reveals a fault line that runs through the heart of communities built on wealth and status. A place where the uniform of service can be mistaken for the uniform of servitude, where a person's entire history can be erased by the assumptions woven into a blue work shirt. We live in a world that often confuses net worth with human worth, where the loudest indicators of success silence the quieter, deeper truths of character and sacrifice. Leo Lawson's journey forces us to ask an uncomfortable question. How many heroes walk among us invisible? Not just veterans, but the single parents working double shifts, the caregivers, the quiet neighbors who bear unseen burdens with dignity. Our systems and our social instincts are not designed to see them. Instead, we are primed to sort people into hierarchies, and children with devastating clarity learn and mimic that sorting. The research is unequivocal. In affluent environments, socioeconomic status becomes the primary vector for bullying. It is a learned behavior, a reflection of adult values distilled into childhood cruelty. But this story is also a blueprint for something else. It shows that when the truth is brought into the light with courage, not for vengeance, but for accountability, entire ecosystems can be forced to change. Principal Vance's assembly was a shock to the system. The national spotlight that followed was a magnifying glass. The result was not just a personal victory, but a structural one. New policies, a reinstated leader, a community forced to look in the mirror. It proves that institutions designed to protect the powerful can be reformed when the moral cost of silence becomes too great. The lingering lesson is not about defeating bullies. It is about redefining strength. Leo's strength wasn't in his past heroics, but in his present vulnerability, choosing to stand and speak when every instinct told him to hide and protect. It was in his refusal to accept a payoff for his silence. True courage, it turns out, is often the courage to be inconvenient, to disrupt the comfortable narrative, to demand that people see more than they want to see. So the next time you see a parent who doesn't fit in, a child who seems on the outside, or a person whose story you think you know at a glance, pause. The surface is a language we are all too fluent in. The depth is where real connection lives. The world is filled with Leos and Chloes, hidden battles and quiet dignities. Our choice is whether to perpetuate the judgment or to become the kind of people and foster the kind of communities where no one has to prove their worth through declassified footage, where every child's value is inherent, and where no one is left behind. If you believe that courage wears many uniforms and that every person deserves to be seen for the depth of their character, not the shallow measure of their status, then subscribe. Subscribe for more stories that look beyond the surface, that challenge our assumptions, and that remind us of the power of one voice to change the echo in the room.